All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour one of Jon and Jim. What Jim was trying to say, we just Googled it during that open. He was trying to say, screw the pooch.
I knew there was a pooch
But
saying.
what did you say? I already forget what you said. Did you say kick the pooch?
They kicked the pooch.
Yeah, that's not
Whiff
good.
the pooch.
They whiffed the
Whiff
pooch.
the pooch.
Oh, screwed the pooch.
Man, how I work with you every single day for 3 hours. Actually, 4 if you include the wrap-up shows. Really incredible. Anyway, Jon and Jim with you on this Tuesday afternoon. Looking forward to the next 3 hours. We have Darnay Tripp on the show. Friend of the show. Is he? I think he's a friend.
He's our best friend of the show.
Right. It's like one of those, like, is he a friend or is he an enemy? I think he's a friend. We keep him very close.
We love Darnay Tripp.
We love Darnay.
Yes, he is our favorite guest.
He has spoken with, in the last, let's say, week, Lamont Butler on NBC7 about his decision to transfer to Kentucky. He's talked to Nick Boyd. That's official, by the way. This idea, this demise of San Diego State basketball, all of it's been greatly exaggerated. We'll wait until the portal closes, but Miles Bird today on social media saying locked in. Nick Boyd quote tweeting him saying locked in. Nick Boyd officially, a release was sent out by San Diego State today. He's on board. Anyway, Darnay Tripp will join us at 4 p.m. Then Alan Sliwa, you talked about LeBron and his future, his son's future as well. Bronny, Alan Sliwa, Lakers Talk, ESPN LA, will join us at 5. But let's not bury the lead.
Lakers are out of the playoffs.
That's exactly right. The fact that the Padres have, they're hopefully not burying themselves here. They've now lost 5 straight, a season high. Everything looks swimming, or was swimmingly going along when they led by 5 runs on Thursday against the Rockies, and it's completely unraveled. Blew a 5-run lead. The thing I saw on social media, I think I share with you, I have no clue if it's accurate. Their first blown lead in the 8th inning or later, 5 runs or more since 1977 in a loss, which makes no sense, but whatever. So they blow that lead, and now at home, this thing's in a complete tailspin. You can't have a worse homestand than this. They're 0-4, and they've got 2 games to try to salvage something, and now it's like the insult to injury time. Is Nick Martinez actually the pitcher facing the Padres tonight? And he is. He's really struggled this year. I mean, at what point do you kind of enter panic mode? Like, how many consecutive losses do you get really concerned about the team? It might not be 5, and I'm okay with that. I am, but is it 7? Is it 6? Is it 8? Because this is like high alert time if you're a Padres fan. At some point, you need to stop this, and hopefully that's tonight.
It's already happened, John.
I don't think it's panic time.
No. I don't think it's panic time either, but high alert time.
Maybe high alert, yes.
I think everybody is on high alert. Everybody is very edgy. Everybody is, you say the wrong thing to somebody, they're going to just lose their mind.
I agree with that.
Like, that's where everybody's at. It all stems from what happened last year. Why did we continuously say, or not we, but the general sentiment from that clubhouse last year was, it's early, guys. We'll kick it into gear. Don't jump on the bandwagon now, because if you're not on now, when we start effing raking, too effing bad, right? Like, we're going to start getting hot. We're going to hit. You know why those things were said last year? Is because of 2022. Because they made the postseason, they won 89 games, and they made to the NLCS. So there was a belief based off of last year's team, and I'm talking from 2023's perspective, that we just did it. Like, we went through the grind. We got to the big dance.
Sure.
We made it to the NLCS. So we have a belief that, hey, we're going to do it again. And we added some pieces that are, quote unquote star players. So why wouldn't we be able to repeat last year and potentially go further? Didn't happen. Look at this year. 5-game losing streak. They're 4 games under 500. They have not gotten off to that good start that they needed to get off to. What do they have to reference back to? They have last year to reference back to, which was the most disappointing season in Padres history. That's what their reference point is. And that's why fans are very on edge right now, because what just happened with this team with the same core players last season at times quit. They all underperformed. They didn't get into the postseason. So why should I sit here and believe that the core group of guys that just went through a 162-game season and they missed the postseason, they admitted they quit, they all underperformed, why should I sit here and think that they're going to flip a switch and turn it around?
Well, we were told they would, but we were skeptical, highly skeptical from the beginning. We've said repeatedly that you could absolutely argue their roster is nowhere near as good today as it was 1 year ago today. By the way, breaking baseball news: Mike Trout needs surgery on his knee. It can always be worse. You can be the Angels organization. Not expected to be season ending. Will miss a significant period of time. Alden Gonzalez, Mike Trout will have surgery on his knee. They are 11-18. The Angels in the AL West.
So hearing that right now, the one question I have is, what does that mean for LeBron's legacy?
It's as significant since they're both in Los Angeles.
Yes.
So it can always be worse. I mean, if you're a Padres fan and you've had, the pleasure, so to speak, of watching this franchise, let's just say over the last 10 years, over the AJ Preller era,
you chose to watch.
The truth is, it's been better than that decade for the Angels. And the Angels have had Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani for a lot of that decade. But when you fast forward to today, I was told the first articles that were being written, it's different. Bogaerts is moving positions. It's we, not me.
Yeah.
Every at bat will have a purpose until I'm watching these games. They
got
don't.
the cancer out of the clubhouse.
Right. Juan Soto's been traded. We addressed needs.
Yeah.
That's why we got King and Brito and Suarez and Higashioka. As we joked about yesterday, the Padres somehow didn't just lose one Juan Soto trade. They've lost two inexplicably. That alone is a whole nother conversation about what it means for AJ Preller's future. But we were told it would be different, but it's a good point. It's like, what do they say about zebras?
You can't change zebra stripes.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like whatever you said about the pooch.
But I actually got this one right.
That's why I asked.
I know.
I didn't say it. So, I mean, are they who they are at this point? I mean, Bogaerts is a two-time world champion. Manny Machado is trending for the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. Fernando Tatis Jr. was one of the best 20 and 21-year-old players in the history of baseball. When you look at his stat line for that age season, yet here we are in 2024, and they've completely all lost their ways.
Let me ask you this about Xander and Manny. We hear this a lot. You need to capitalize now, and we have said it. Yeah. You need to capitalize now. Go quote unquote all in, because you need to capitalize on these guys' prime.
Mm-hmm.
What if they're past their prime? Like already?
I don't think they are.
What gives you that indication to
because
say that?
Typically,
not just age, but like numbers show they are.
The indicator would be
well.
age, though. Players that were trending for a Hall of Fame career in the first half of their career don't typically fall off cliffs. Because they're trending as Hall of Famers. We can argue that about Bogaerts. They don't typically fall off cliffs, and if they do, it's not now. Now, I don't know the extent of Manny Machado's. Has Machado's health caught up with him? Like, is there more tread on the tires of Machado, so to speak? Injured goods, damaged goods. So that's possible. But 31 years of age is not the wheels fall off age in baseball.
One of the players that you brought up, I think on the wrap-up show,
Albert Pujols.
But
that was more like age 34, maybe?
That was age 33.
Okay.
Age 33, his OPS went from 859 down to 767. He followed it up with He followed that up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 straight seasons of OPSs under 800 from his age 33 season on.
Mm-hmm.
The last time he had a OPS above 800 was his final year at 42 years old with St. Louis, when he's
a part-time player.
Crazy good season.
Yeah.
He's a part-time player. Exactly. That was age 33. Manny and Bogaerts are about to be 32 this upcoming year.
True, but this is only one player, and your point is spot on. And Pujols had an amazing first half and a terrible second half, and is always the extreme example, I would say.
I'm just saying, what if those primes that we continue to talk about with Manny and Bogey,
they're out of their prime?
Are they done? And that right there is a horrifying thought to think about with this team, because if those two guys are out of their primes and they continue to decline year after year when they just got these huge contracts, oh my God.
It's interesting you say that. I mean, anything is a possibility. I mean, what would we say about Fernando Tatis Jr.? He's damaged goods, the injuries, the suspension, things have changed. I mean, all of it's a possibility. What Mike Schilt would tell you, Schilty would say, man, he's hitting the ball hard. What I would tell you is he's 6 for 46.
Yeah, I would.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's 6 for his last 46. But like Fernando Tatis Jr., you go to Fangraphs, you look at projections. He's supposed to be a top 5 offensive player in baseball. Not just this year, next year, 2026. Now, you go to Fangraphs, you look at Manny Machado projections for now. 2025, 2026. They're still solid. So I understand what you're saying. That's possible. But age 31.
The decline's happening.
Well, it's one that decline, but you're supposed to be at the top of a summit. So if you're Hall of Fame caliber and your prime is 27 to 32, which is what they say, if you're coming off a high, you're still relatively high. So, yeah, but I'm with you. I mean, last year wasn't good. You can only say it's an aberration if you bounce back. I mean, if he goes back-to-back down years, Machado, if Bogaerts goes back-to-back down years, what will we be saying in 2025? I don't really know.
Well, everybody will be pissed. That's
definitely be pissed.
Everyone will be pissed. These three players have let this team down. They've let this fan base down so far. In the last 2 years have been really bad. It's been, the start of last season, Xander, Tatis, and Manny offensively have all underperformed in a huge way. And it's the biggest reason why this team has been a bad baseball team for the last year plus. They're a bad baseball team, John. Straight up. They're not a good baseball team. I'm not going
to disagree with that.
I don't know if they'll become a good baseball team. I don't know when or if they'll be over 500 again this year. I mean, I don't envision this team ripping off 5 straight. I would love to be proven wrong, but I just don't see it happening. They have a 5-game losing streak this year. What's their longest winning streak this year? 2, 3 tops?
Well, it's not more than 3. It's either 2 or 3. Here, you want to make a bet? Because again, I'm on your team, but I'll make a bet with you.
What's the bet?
Do you think the Padres win 5 in a row at any point this year?
Ooh, that's a good bet.
I'll say yes. Because again, you have so many opportunities in baseball to do that.
I'll say yes too.
Wait, you just said you don't see this team as a team winning 5 straight.
But I think they'll do it in the most meaningless manner possible.
So September.
Yeah.
Or
like last year when they finally kicked it into gear in the most meaningless time of their season when they were 10 games plus under 500. And
okay, so that's where you are though with this team. You're willing to say today, 14 and 18, that if we see it, it'll be late, and when we see it, if we see it, it will be meaningless.
Again,
that's what you're saying.
I just don't have any reference of things to go off here. No, Kevin.
What about the back of Machado's baseball card?
Great. Look at his numbers this year and last year. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
I mean, the numbers of it, cool. If I can get an age 28 year from Machado, then great.
What about his age? 2022 would have been his age 29 season. As in, it's all possible. To your point, Pujols went from a 950 OPS player to 2 years later being a 750 OPS
for
player.
11 straight years.
But again, that's one example. I can give you an example of someone that was 29 and had better numbers as a 31-year-old.
Yeah,
there's a lot of examples of that.
It happens, but for Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts and Tatis and now Musgrove's in the mix, for all of those guys to just continuously underperform here, man, that's like that. I know they're working hard. I know everybody's trying. I'm not saying everybody's dogging it out there, but to have to be such a big miscalculation on all those dudes and everybody's not performing. It's frustrating to watch, and I don't know if or when these guys will ever do anything of substance ever again to lead a team, to be the best player, one of the best players in the sport again. I mean, I have the most faith in Tatis just because of his age, but
right.
That's even concerning, seeing that now you're going into year 2 after his suspension and PED suspension, or injury and PED suspension, that he hasn't looked the same at all.
What if I told you, here, I'll be glass half full guy for a moment, knowing that I agree with your general assessment, I wouldn't take it as far. I'm not as finite. I'm not as definitive on this team. I just know how long these seasons are, and it's always doable unless you're like the White Sox, unless you're the Marlins, the Rockies. Everything's the writings on the wall. The truth is, the Padres have the only teams in the National League with worse records than the Padres are the Marlins and the Rockies, as we sit here today. What if I told you in Manny Machado's last 18 games, he's hitting 16 of them?
And I would ask you, what's his OPS and what's his slug?
Right. That's the other side of the glass. Yeah. You're spot on.
Yeah, because I would say I've watched every single one of Manny Machado's at bat his last 16 games, and not one time have I said, "Man, the power's back."
I agree with that. And 100%. He's hit 288 in 18 games, which is actually kind of surprising to me. and he's hitting 16 of those 18 games. There's a however.
Yeah, give me the however part.
The however part of the equation is, I'm just now using a different sample size. I think his on base plus slugging over those 18 games is under 700. So it's been all singles. It's 699.
Yeah. So to me, you're basically telling me he's like Jackson Merrill.
Correct.
And he's making 30 million dollars.
And we talked about that last night on the wrap-up show. That's where fans' minds go. You always, when things are bad, we always go to, and they're making all this money. And I agree. But the money has nothing to do with it.
It has everything to do with it.
It doesn't. It has nothing to do with it for me. Literally zero. Let me explain why. I don't care if Manny Machado is on the final year of a 7-year deal or in year 2 of an 11-year deal. He's got to produce regardless. The $350 million deal ties up future Padre teams, but what impact does it have on the Padres today? He's got to produce regardless of what he makes today.
I'll tell you what the impact that has on the Padres.
What?
It hinders them from making other moves to improve the roster.
Like any team that has stars, everyone understands that. It hinders them long term.
Yes,
absolutely. Their 2024 fortune, like paying Manny Machado $30 million plus in 2024, is not the reason why this thing is going to crash and burn. Manny Machado not producing in 2024 may be the reason why it crashes and burns. His $30 million payroll is not the reason why they are where they are, in my opinion. It's just you add it all up, 30 for him, 30 for Toddy, 30 for Bogey. I'm making it up. It's not actually the number, but 90. Yeah, that's 60% of their payroll. But I'm saying I'm not mad at Manny because he's making a lot of money. I'm mad at Manny because he's not producing. And it's only magnified by the fact that he's making a lot of money. But what about, forget the money. Isn't he the supposed leader? Isn't he the supposed captain? Isn't he supposed best player?
I don't want to get that conversation.
But you know what I mean? Like, I'm just asking him to produce. I don't care what he makes. I just want to see him produce.
Yeah. I mean, and I guarantee you we'll probably hear later on in the season, if this thing continues to go sideways,
right,
Manny Machado's leadership skills will be in the question again. And it will be the same story. It'll be another article, and people will push back on it and be like, oh, Manny's great. Manny's this, Manny's that. Well, guess what? Manny's been here for 5 years, and it's been the biggest roller coaster ride with Manny in that clubhouse ever. He is the one constant that is in that clubhouse for the last 5 years, going through 4 different managers.
6 years.
6 years, 4 different managers. He's the highest paid player on the team. He's supposedly the best player on the team. And yet you're telling me that he's not one of the main reasons why this team has gone through the roller coasters over the last 6 seasons?
But of course he is. But just hear me out for a second to like tie a bow on the point, which is forget the contract. It's been signed. All we can do is argue over it. I mean, if you're a Padres,
nothing we could do.
It
nothing
doesn't
we could
even matter.
Nothing we could do.
He's like you said, it's an absurd contract.
Yeah.
The truth is, when it was signed, most Padres fans were on board. It was a high.
I think we were too.
2022.
I mean, how could you not be?
That's what I'm saying. So it is what it is, and I hate to put it so bluntly. It for me now, like I've come to realizations with the contract. It's a big contract, likely an albatross contract. He's got to produce. Yeah. It's just as simple as that.
And if Manny had a good year last year, and they still missed the postseason, and then Manny has a good year this year and then missed the postseason, like, are we blaming Manny for them not making the postseason? Probably not.
No,
probably not. We're blaming Preller. He already is going to get blamed, and he deserves it. We're blaming the roster. We're blaming other players. But when Manny, while this team also struggles, has bad games and has bad months and has bad years, it just makes things even worse, because you can't even say, well, at least Manny's living up to his contract. The other players aren't.
Right.
It's Manny's not living up to the contract. Xander's not living up to the contract. Tatis right now is not the same player that he was. Joe has struggled mightily to start this season. And that is $1 billion right there. That is a giant anchor for this team.
Yes,
that
when you add it all up,
that those players are expected to perform and lead this team. They're not doing that right now with their play at all. And the fans deserve better. They're packing Petco Park every single night. They buy jerseys off the rack at record paces. Everywhere I look, there's Padres gear everywhere. And these players are putting up these performances.
But here's my point. And you're 100% right. You add it all up, of course. Yankees are 20-10 with the Giancarlo Stanton contract. Contracts can be overcome. The Yankees have never had a season like 21 or 23 with albatross deal after albatross deal. They're not spending more than the Padres. They haven't over the last 4 years. If you add it up, they're not.
I know.
So we can't alone be like, bad contract, that's why they're bad.
No.
And they're handcuffed because of it.
Well, I mean,
if you add them all up, they are.
You're handcuffed with the Xander contract. No doubt about that.
I agree.
You're handcuffed with all of his contracts combined.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree. If it was just Manny, if Manny was the only player on this team making $30 million and you had Tatis making 25 or whatever, right? And everyone else is in the 15s to 10 range, then yeah, they're not hamstrung by that contract. They're not, because he's the only guy making 30. But you have Toddy making 30. You have Manny making 30. You have Bogey making 26. You got Musgrove making 20. You have you making around 20.
Yeah, that's whose fault is all that?
Well,
right. That Manny didn't sign those deals. And by the way, if someone put 350 in front of me, I'm signing it too.
Yeah.
On the other side, Aztec fans, take a deep breath with us. The latest with the transfer portal still open is next on Jon and Jim. The latest from the transfer portal, about 24 hours out from it closing. Take a deep breath collectively. Aztec fans will explain why next.
All right, this update is brought to you by San Diego FC's Chrome Ball Tour in Chula Vista. Padres, their losing streak is now up to 5 games. They lost last night to the Reds in game 1 of their 3-game series. Game 2 tonight at Petco Park, 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish returns from the IL tonight for the Padres, and old friend Nick Martinez will make the start for the Reds. And last night, the Lakers lost to the Nuggets on a game winner by Jamal Murray. Lakers are officially eliminated once again. LeBron James, after the game, when asked if he expects to return to the Lakers next year, he said, "I don't want to answer that question." San Diego FC's comes to Chula Vista Saturday, May 4th, for an all-day block party on historic 3rd Avenue. Join San Diego's Major League Soccer for a free community event. Festivals include street soccer, lucha libre, and live music. RSVP at sandiegofc.com. I butchered the hell out of that.
Shocking. You're stepping out of your car, settling in at home, just command your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or use the free iHeartRadio app for seamless listening. It's like having your favorite station like this one right in your pocket. Like
Ooh,
this one.
we can be right in everybody. No, never mind.
I thought the mayor's name was Lee Stockmer for a second.
No, it was. Let me just can I redeem myself on this one?
Yeah, sure.
All right. San Diego FC comes to Chula Vista Saturday, May 4th, for an all-day block party on historic 3rd Avenue. What
is wrong with you?
Join San Diego's Major League Soccer team for a free community event. Festivities include street soccer, lucha libre, and live music. RSVP at sandiegofc.com.
Don't quit the day job. Unfortunately, this is your day job. Darnay Tripp will join us at 4 p.m. Alan Slewa, Lakers Talk, will join us at 5 p.m. There was this idea yesterday among some Aztec fans. You saw it on social media, if you're active on social media. This idea that the sky is falling, right? Micah Parrish in the portal. Lamont Butler in the portal. Elijah Saunders, really? Sophomore forward in the portal? What's happening? And what we said yesterday is what I would say right now. You have to always have some level of perspective or caution because each situation is unique into itself. And what has happened over the last 24 hours is that everything is going to be more than fine. All right. You had Miles Bird lock up his return, essentially. He put it on social media, locked up.
I feel like that's going to become a new thing nowadays, is that players are going to have to announce that they're staying.
That they're returning. Yes, absolutely. So
that's going to be the new, when they put the hat on signing day.
Yes.
That's going to be the new signing day
Yes.
2.0.
Like,
I'm
back.
staying.
I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere.
So Bird is back. Nick Boyd then doubles down. People are like, is Boyd really coming? He announced the portal he was coming. Yeah, he's coming. Jared Coleman-Jones is coming. Okay. Then again, you never say never with anything, like we've been saying for days and days and days. Nobody was guaranteeing you everyone on the roster was returning. We've had people on. Mark Ziegler said, no, I can't guarantee it. We've said the same thing. But if we can get through the portal closing and Reese Waters is still on this roster and Miles Heidi's on this roster, and we know about Miles Bird, and there's BJ Davis, and there's Magoon Gwath, right? Like, all of a sudden, you still have a ton to work with, if not more to work with than A, most of the Mountain West, and B, a lot of the programs nationally that have been completely flooded by portal subtractions. And I also saw this on social media, and I want to make mention of this. This idea that, oh, man, we're never going to be able to keep up with the Joneses, which is interesting because I can't keep up with my son, and his name is Jones. But this idea that it's going to be impossible to keep up with Kentucky. It's impossible to keep up with Kansas. Guess what? San Diego State 25 years ago was not winning recruiting battles with Kentucky or Kansas. And guess what? They've won at a very high clip. And over the last 5 years, they've won at a better clip than a school like the University of Kentucky. The collective works. Mesa Foundation, the money that they've raised from your donations works. There would be more players on the way out if not for the work of the collective. So this idea, like, why should I vote? It doesn't matter. No, it actually does. And a lot of people vote. Why should I donate? It doesn't matter. No, it actually does matter if you understand the inner workings of how it all works. So again, the general idea of this, Jim, this idea that the sky's falling or what is happening with San Diego State men's basketball. What's happening with San Diego State men's basketball is what's happening with all of college basketball. And the Aztecs will be more than fine. Trust the process.
They still have really good players on their team. Nick Boyd, Miles Bird, Reese Waters, Magoon Gwath, Coleman Jones, Miles Heidi, BJ Davis. Those are the players you're going to see a lot next year. And I would bet you a lot that with the departure of Lamont and the soon-to-be departure of Elijah, guess what Dutch is going to do? Replace those players.
Yeah, that seems likely.
He's going to get players to replace those players. So whoever he goes out and gets, they're going to be in the rotation as well. And I'm sure whenever those things are announced, I don't know if that would be in the immediate future because these things just happened, right? Or the near future in the next coming weeks. But like, guess what Aztecs fans are going to do? And guess what we're going to do? More likely than not, we're probably going to be excited about whatever they get because we'll have to look at the players and be like, oh, okay, I could see it here. I could see it there, and that's what happens in college basketball. If it wasn't going to happen now, it was going to happen later where they had to replace Elijah Saunders. Does it hurt that you won't be able to see potentially the growth of Elijah Saunders to maybe hopefully take that next step? Yeah, it does. Like if he goes wherever he goes, if he takes that next step and averages like, 12, 13 points a game, 7 rebounds and shoots really, improves his shooting percentage from 3, you'd be like, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that this team can't still be good next year because they absolutely can. And look what happened. Look what's happening in the Mountain West right now. Look what happened to New Mexico today, John.
Yeah, freshman of the year in the Mountain West left.
Like it's happening to everybody.
It's not just the Mountain West. And even, I think a lot of Aztec fans or fans of Mountain West basketball would potentially say, because of their proximity to it, man, the Mountain West has really been raided. But
not really.
The thing is, the same thing happened a year ago. Maybe not as much at San Diego State, although they did lose a really good player in Keyshawn Johnson. And what did they do?
Sweet 16.
They got to a Sweet 16, and they had a great season. They were a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament as well. So it's a part of the sport. There's other motivations elsewhere. I mean, Duke might be losing players to the NBA. And Mount West programs might be losing players to quote unquote power, programs and power leagues. But then things change and you backfill and you produce and you develop. And again, what I saw yesterday on social media is understandable because not everyone understands all the dynamics that are at play here. But I'm telling you, like I said yesterday, trust the staff, trust the process, and I think you'll be pleased with the overall result. Now, again, the portal is still open, and you never know. You just don't know. But again, this idea, what's the point of these collectives? And we're never going to have Kentucky's collective. That's not the point of the collective. The point of the collective is to be able to retain and add talent. It's worked. Reese Waters, Jay Powell, Nick Boyd, Jared Coleman Jones, retaining a player of Miles Bird's caliber. Believe me, it's working. And it's going to continue to work at San Diego State. And you don't have to believe me. Some people may disagree. Some people may not want to hear it. But again, I feel as if San Diego State men's basketball deserves the benefit of the doubt. Do they not? What have they done the last 2 years? You're just going to write them off. Oh man, I can't deal with this. Elijah Saunders out the door. I'm out. Okay. I mean, if that's how you want to deal with it, go ahead.
The one thing, though, I do think Aztecs fans have the right to be concerned about is this potentially leading down the road to more departures earlier rather than later, and hoping that this isn't like a start of the floodgates potentially opening here. And you hope this is just, it's not a one-off, because you're going to see more players that come through San Diego State enter the transfer portal, and you're going to see more players that have been in the transfer portal come to San Diego State. But you just hope that it just doesn't continue to happen the clip doesn't get higher. Like, you don't see, like we saw three players into the transfer portal this year. You hope next year you'd see like 4 or 5 into their transfer portal.
But you're right. But hear me out, because I think you know what I'm saying.
I'm what?
You are actually right. But do we know? Ask yourself this, Aztec fans. Ask yourself this, Jim Russell.
Yes.
Do we know the exact reason why?
No, we don't.
And that is a critical component of this.
Yep.
That's a critical component of this. So, and I don't know all the reasons, but if you think that all 3 of those players went in for the same reason, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah. I think that's easy to say.
And in the 3-year era of the transfer portal, and maybe 4 years, whatever it is, there's been one underclassman to leave San Diego State, one underclassman, and that's Elijah Saunders. In fact, one player without a degree, I believe, and that's Elijah Saunders. You've had Keyshawn Johnson, Micah Parrish, Lamont Butler. There's only one player leaving San Diego State, as far as we know, without a degree.
And guess what? They also attract really good players too.
Exactly.
Reese Waters, Nick Boyd, Jay Powell, Jaden Ledee. like they attract really good players in the portal as well.
Real quick, let me just address this, then we can move on to LeBron's future. But 360 trying to convince people to buy players who might leave a year after maybe a lost cause. We want a return on our investment, short and long. Have you watched the last 25 years on the Mesa? Have you gotten a return on your investment?
Pretty good return on the investment.
Okay, you want a short-term investment? How's your last 12-month return? How's your last 24-month return? So what? So we can't guarantee future returns, therefore you're not as interested anymore? Welcome to being a fan. On the other side, has LeBron played his last game as a Laker or not? Or will he be playing next year with the Lakers with his son? That's next. LeBron James. What's next? A Trip, NBC7 friend of the show, according to us, will join us at 4. Alan Flewa, Lakers Talk,
Also a friend
ESPN
of the show.
LA, actually a friend of the show, will join us coming up at
Whoa, whoa,
5
whoa,
p.m.
whoa.
Also at Aztec for Life.
What are you saying about?
I'm saying I don't know if Darnay likes us. I know Alan likes us.
Darnay likes me.
No, Darnay likes me.
No, he likes me. I don't know about you.
We will get to LeBron's legacy, what Mike Trout's knee injury has to do with it.
Legacy.
But let's get to Dave, who's been very patient again.
LeBron
Dave, thank you
versus
for calling
MJ.
in. Dave, appreciate you. You're on with Jon and Jim.
Well, likewise back, boys, and was listening to all discussion on Nils. So I'm going to suspend the Padre talk today.
Oh,
Let's
wow.
go back
Okay.
let's go back to Nils. John, you said something a moment ago. I'm just going to play devil's advocate with you, so don't take it personal. You said, well, we all should be happy with the last 20, 25 years of San Diego State basketball because we've won, and, Steve Fisher and the legacy. John, we just entered into the nil, so we don't know long-term yet what the consequences are, and there's a lot of unintended consequences. So if you're asking me, there's a fan's perspective here, alumni perspective, those of us who have been with San Diego State all this time, and now what you're telling me every year, we've got to go out and buy a basketball team and buy a football team with no guarantee how long this kid or kids are going to stay with the program, because we've got this unfettered, unregulated, wacko system that is unsustainable in the long term. And we all know that if we're going to tell the truth. So
correct.
There's unintended consequences that need to be discussed here, not just the fluff. You're asking me to be loyal. You're asking me to do all the things that I used to do when things were in a situation of sustainability. And now you're asking me that same loyalty and asking all of us to be loyal in a time of these kids can pack up and leave in a year. Well, I could do the same thing as a fan. And
okay.
Where we're going.
So why? Okay. I mean, you leave Dave there for 1 second. Your point is understandable, but what you're basically saying, let's surmise it like this. You're either going to bet on San Diego State, you're either going to bet on their future, or you're not going to bet on their future. I'll choose to bet on their future. I'll bet that they figure it out. I'll bet that the fan base finds a way to continue to put them in a position where they can be successful. You disagree with that?
Well, let's put this into more normal English. It means we have to go out and buy a basketball and a football team every year. And it's not just basketball, John. This is going straight across the board, as you well know, in football. That's a pretty difficult, rock to continue to climb every single year in a city that is not corporate. We don't have the business outreach that some communities have. What we have is a very fortunate situation of having some great coaches, a great facility, great university, that by itself is going to have to be the draw here. We are not a money machine ATM that these athletes like to think we are. And beyond that, they get these scholarships.
Okay, well, let me say this, David. I
taxpayers.
appreciate you. Let me just say this. Let me be blunt. And by the way, nobody knows the future. Nobody knows even without NIL what San Diego State's next 25 years look like. Is it harder with NIL than it was 5 years ago? Sure, I'll go down that path with you. If you want to see San Diego State compete at the highest level and win at the highest level, then NIL is a component to it. They're going to do it at Kentucky. They're going to do it at Ohio State. They're going to do it at Gonzaga. They're going to do it at the University of Arizona. If you want to compete with those programs at national level, then that's how you compete with those programs. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But I don't want to hear then from people, oh, they're not winning at the same level. Well, okay, the game has changed. Anyway, LeBron James. I mean, it's funny how people want everything. It's like you want them to be in the national championship. They were in the national championship 2 years ago. If you want them to maintain that level of success, then maybe it takes more from fans for them to maintain that level of success. Is that crazy? Padres ticket prices have gone up. Aztec ticket prices can go up. Such is life. This is what it's called, fandom. I don't know. It's the cost of doing business to some extent, isn't it?
Yeah, dude, I remember my family got Badger season tickets for football pre-Rose Bowl in '93, and our seats cost like $23. Now those same tickets cost like $123 a piece.
Do you want to see the Padres be good?
Yeah, did they winning?
I mean, the Padres increased payroll, right? How do they pay for it?
Tickets, concession stand, parking.
Are people okay with it?
If they win, yeah.
Would you prefer a more affordably priced ticket to watch a 70-92 team? Now, unfortunately, we might get neither. We might get the high price with a lack of winning, but would you prefer they go 70 and 92 every year, but you get your $4 hot dog as opposed to $6, and your $5 beer as opposed to $10, and your $30 ticket as opposed to $60?
Yeah,
Nothing's free.
The price of things are just going to continue to go up, been up.
But what do you want? What are your aspirations? You want to win or not?
That's it right there. It's like, hey, if I buy this $60 beer, is it come with some winning?
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good
point.
Yeah,
like it better come with winning,
right?
Or else I ain't going to buy it, and then you guys are screwed.
We have 10 seconds to talk about LeBron. Well, did you see that they lost?
They lost.
So the season's over.
Well, the biggest thing of LeBron from last night was this question that was asked to him about his future.
Tonight, was there any thought at all that, this could have been your last game with the Lakers?
I'm not going to answer that. Appreciate it.
And we're out.
But that's every LeBron.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've speculated on his future like 75 times.
I think the realization of LeBron retiring it's close. We know it. And I think there's a good chance this is it after the Olympics with Team USA. Like he could use the Olympics as like, this is my swan song right here.
He's not done. We just talked about this the other day. He is a baby and a sore loser every time he loses. He lost. Their season's over. He's pouting.
Yeah, if you had to put money on it, would you say he returns or doesn't? You'd say he returns. Of course, of course he's coming back. I mean, it's not even a question. The only question is, are they actually going to draft his son, which is absurd. I mean, I believe that's completely planted fluff.
Oh, 100%. And
it's used by all these.
And Shams and Woj they're being used every single day.
I agree with that.
For their platform.
Yep.
And to me, they have fallen off a cliff as far as the two go-to sources for NBA.
Sure.
That
I'm with you on
I don't
that.
even consider them journalists anymore. I just consider
They're
them
just kind of mouthpieces for others.
Yeah, mouthpieces for the Asians. That's it.
So that's a fine. We can have that conversation, but there's a very good chance LeBron James will say, "I'm back," and everyone will make it a big story. We'll talk to Alan Slew about it coming up at 5 p.m. On the other side, Darnay Tripp on the Padres 5-game skid.
Our favorite guest
On the still open transfer portal. He spoke with Lamont Butler. He recently spoke with Nick Boyd as well. Darnay Tripp, friend of the show, according to us, will join us next on Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres Reds game 2 of their 3-game series tonight at Petco Park. Padres trying to snap their 5-game losing streak. Yu Darvish returns from the IL today. He'll start tonight for the Padres against old friend Nick Martinez. Corresponding move, the Padres have sent down Tom Cosgrove in the move to bring Yu Darvish back from the IL. And the Lakers that are officially eliminated, they lost last night in game 5 to the Nuggets. LeBron, after the game, when asked about his future, if he thinks he's going to return to the Lakers or not, he said, "I'm not going to answer that question right now." Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward, like banners, flyers, signs, and catalogs, some even on the same day. Now at Staples, save $50 on your print purchases of $150 or more. Offer ends 6/1. Visit staples.com/print for details. Staples, your local print and marketing expert.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. This is a big hour because friend of the show, Darnay Tripp, is with us. Not all hour, I don't think. I didn't tell him he'd be with us all hour. We could try to get him all hour. We do have Alan Sliwa, Aztec for Life, Lakers Talk, ESPN LA. He'll join us coming up at 5 p.m. Darnay, first of all, thanks for hopping on. Now, Jim says that you are friends with him, but he's not certain about our friendship. I thought our friendship was closer than your friendship with him, but how do you assess this whole thing?
I mean, like I said in our group text the other day, Jim invited me to his wedding. You didn't invite me to your wedding.
True.
So,
Yeah,
that's fair.
I mean, I think that's kind of the only metric we really need to assess this by.
That's very fair.
Yeah. I am better friends with Darnay for that simple fact alone.
Today is a perfect day to have Darnay on, not to talk about our collective friendships, but I mean, he covers obviously everything San Diego sports. He's caught up with Lamont Butler within the last 24 hours. He recently had Nick Boyd on NBC7. Of course, he covers the Padres as well. Let's start with the Padres, their 5-game losing streak. I mean, we're 1/5 of the way through the season. They are 14-18. Do you feel differently about 2024 than you felt about the way 2023 played out? Why or why not?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there's definitely some similarities. I think, you know, the mentality, the approach, not in terms of like at bats, but just kind of in games and to adversity has been different. And, you know, it seems like, you know, guys are kind of pulling the rope in the same direction and there aren't some of those issues. Now we are early in the season. I don't know how much we were talking about that in like late April, early May of last year, but there does seem to be a little bit more kind of, you know, fire there. You know, obviously we've seen it with, you know, some of the comebacks, what they did at Dodger Stadium, what they did against the Cubs. Like those are things we didn't really see on much of a regular basis. But, you know, at the same time, you're talking about, you know, struggles with the Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machados of the world and Fernando Tatis Jr., even though, you know, some of the expected numbers and the way he's hitting the ball would seem to suggest that he's, you know, in a better place than what his numbers would tell you. The fact of the matter is you haven't gotten the consistent contributions from that group than you would expect. And look, the Manny situation is complicated coming off the injury. Jon, you and I have had children. It can be a crazy time when you have a kid. I think that's something, you know, because they're professional athletes and they take 2 or 3 days off after that happens that we kind of glossed over. But having just done it not that long ago, you know, I don't know if I was performing at peak form, you know, after that happened. And so there's been a lot going on with him. He's obviously reacclimating to playing, you know, regularly at third base. And but again, the fact is, the guys that they're paying a lot of money to haven't necessarily performed at that level. That's kind of been a common thread. And, when you have a guy that I don't know how many of us were really familiar with on the mound last night, shove the way that he did, we've seen that time and time again through the years. And so there are some of those similarities that make it maybe trigger some of the PTSD with this team when they go through the type of slump that they've been in the last week.
Who are you most concerned about of the three guys in the lineup that are all underperforming, making the most money? Xander, Manny, or Toddy?
Probably Xander, just because his lulls have been a little bit more common and have lasted a little bit longer, and just kind of the lack of power. Like even when Manny isn't going great, he seems to get his 30 homers. He can run into one from time to time. There's just kind of that consistency that we haven't seen from Xander. I think Xander showed that during his time with the Red Sox, but since he got to the Padres, we haven't seen that. Had a good first month of the year last year, got hit in the wrist. We know what happened after that, caught fire in September, but it's just not enough. You can't have months upon months of underperforming and, be satisfied with what he's done. And you obviously have an understanding of what impact that has on the lineup and the team as a whole. And so I think it would be Xander at this point, just given the fact that Manny does have a track record here in San Diego. He is coming off an injury. We've seen it time and time again. I want to say last June was he had a really, despite last season, he had one really kind of explosive month. Even though his numbers were as a whole lower than what we've come to expect, we're just still kind of waiting to see that from Xander. And I think some of the struggles and, although that sort of thing is made it hard to feel super confident about him coming around and being the guy we expected to see when he signed.
No doubt about it. Darnay Tripp, NBC7 with us. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Does it perplex you like it perplexes me that they play in front of some of the largest crowds in baseball that a lot of teams would be envious of, that are having more success than the Padres are, and they just don't win at home? I mean, a year ago, they were under 500 at home until maybe August, if not September. This year, they're about as bad of a home team that there is in baseball. Does that make any sense at all to you?
It makes no sense whatsoever. Now, baseball is a different sport. If it's football or basketball or hockey, where just like trying harder and giving max effort can make a difference. If you're an offensive lineman, you're all juiced up because of the crowd, like that could have an impact on your play. If you're crashing the rebounds, playing defense a little bit harder because of the crowd, that could have a positive impact on your team. If you're like, oh man, look at this crowd, I'm gonna swing really hard and hit a home run for him, it doesn't necessarily work out that way. So there's probably not that kind of same cause and effect or correlation as there are with other sports, but it is baffling just because, and I don't even know if baffling is the word. It's just hard to wrap your head around and understand because it is such a great place to play. And we heard even going back to Bob Melvin, Bob Melvin loved managing at Petco Park, but for whatever reason, through the years, there hasn't been kind of the consistent performance despite the crowds, and the fans, they deserve better. There's no question about that. They're more loyal and passionate than they have any reason to be, just based on what we saw, late in 2021 for a good portion of 2022, obviously last year and the start this year. It's discouraging. And I would, fans have every reason to be upset and to be disappointed because they've gone all in on this team. And the results that they've gotten in return have been less than desirable.
You would agree with the sentiment that if this team does not make the postseason this year, this is it for Preller. Like he's done. Everything changes. New general manager, new GM. Like everything is changing if they don't make the postseason this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably pretty fair. And I'd be curious if, AJ Preller might even agree with that sentiment. He's been given a lot of opportunities, obviously, and there were points last year where we thought that might have been the last straw. And, it's been about a decade, whatever it's been. And, it's one thing to say, okay, we made it in 2022. you should have made it in 2021. You should have made it in 2023. I think it comes to a point where there probably needs to be a reset, and that would be understandable, I think, from anybody's perspective who's involved. And I would imagine that would trickle down to potentially Mike Schilt as well. And so I think how far reaching that is, if it gets to that point, it's still early. Anything can happen. I'm not ready to predict that will be the case. But I think you can't help but wonder, given how much we've all speculated that could happen at some point and it hasn't, to be in this position again, if it really does go south, to me, it's not just AJ Preller. It's just how far reaching are the changes if they get to a point where it's okay, it's time to reset and kind of choose a different path.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, and we'll see if they can turn their season around beginning tonight against the Reds. Darnay Tripp, NBC7 with us. All right, so you've had some exclusive sit-downs here recently.
Mr. Exclusive.
Now, we've noticed because you've been texting us.
Kind of a computer for a Zoom interview, is that what it is?
Yeah, well, you've texted us like, hey, look, I'm talking to Lamont Butler. Hey, look, I'm talking with Nick Boyd. Nick Boyd, excuse me. Let's start with Lamont. What was your takeaway from your conversation with him? Obviously, you spoke with him about not just entering the portal, but also about committing to the University of Kentucky. What was your primary takeaway from your conversation?
Yeah, everybody wants to talk about the money, and I don't feel totally comfortable saying, "Hey, what did Kentucky give you?"
Right.
I talked to Nick Boyd about that, not about what he got from SDSU, but what other kind of numbers that he had heard, and he was like, "I don't really feel," and I was like, "Okay, that's fine." It's a weird thing that we're trying to kind of figure out, how to cover, because everything's changed and it's a different world. I think the fact of the matter is everybody understands that Kentucky's able to offer more than San Diego State. And so his dad referenced it in the Mark Ziegler piece, it being a business decision. Lamont obviously said, look, that's obviously a factor that comes into it. I think we can all kind of acknowledge that, understand that, and kind of move on. And what are some of the other factors that go in? And I think the thing that he brought up, pretty consistently was the fit with Mark Pope's offense at Kentucky, what he's going to be bringing from BYU. BYU is a team that I think, generally speaking, has played with, more of a pace than San Diego State. A team that's really scrappy, aggressive, shoots three-pointers, that sort of thing. And I think Lamont feels like maybe there's a little bit more for him to show that he hasn't had the opportunity to this point in his San Diego State career. I think we all probably expected him to take more of an offensive jump this past season after the run that he had. It was obviously Jalen Ledee's team, Jalen Ledee's offense. I'm sure there were opportunities. It wasn't a great shooting season for Lamont, so I think that probably played into it as well. But aside from kind of the money piece, I think it was a couple things. It was a fit in offense, a chance to maybe show something different. And then I think the big stage is part of it. And obviously the Aztecs can get to the biggest stage. They did it a couple seasons ago now. But consistently playing SEC programs, big name programs. I mean, some of the schools that he's going to be playing on a nightly basis are ones that, we'd get all really fired up about if we saw San Diego State playing against them in November and December. And I think that means something for him, and a chance to play in a different system and to show what he can do against, consistently higher level talent. Maybe that helps out his NBA aspirations going down the road.
Final one from me. What is your reaction to the way people are treating, not the way people are treating Aztecs that enter the portal, but the way fans are reacting to portal movement? This like, hey, sky's falling. Oh my gosh, multiple players are in the portal. What does this mean? Like, how do you see what's transpiring here around San Diego State men's basketball? Do you see it as any different than what's playing out nationally in men's Division I basketball?
No, and it's a great question. I think, they've been fairly immune to it. Obviously, Keshad Johnson last year, and he went on to have a really nice season with Arizona. I went into it thinking, okay, maybe a Micah Parrish, that sort of thing. And then obviously with Elijah Saunders, now Lamont Butler, it's grown. It's bigger than maybe what we would have expected, but it is going on across the country. And the other thing is, with those departures, what does that mean? There's scholarships to fill, and there's other talented players that are in the portal that Brian Dutcher and his crew will have the opportunity to pick up. You know, maybe they weren't expecting to lose. Now, Nick Boyd said he wants to play point guard, and so maybe they had an inkling that Lamont Butler was going to move on. But, you know, with Elijah gone, with Micah Parrish gone, you know, there's going to be, I don't know exactly how many scholarships you might know, John, off the top of your head, if there's 2 more or so that they're going to need to fill. You know, there's going to be some other fan base that is disappointed because their team lost a guy who they thought was going to be part of the future, and now he's playing at San Diego State. And so I think it's kind of a snapshot in time. It's frustrating right now, but as Brian Dutcher mentioned to me a couple weeks ago, like, we've been really good with transfers, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And we don't know what this world will look like down the line. I think everybody was worried about, you know, teams with one and dones winning every national championship. And like Duke did it. There's been a couple instances, but sometimes things don't necessarily play out the way that we expect. And there's the word sustainability that we heard from the late, great Peter Seidler. What does that look like for some of these college programs that are spending tons of money? Like, I think we need to wait a little while before we say, okay, San Diego State can't compete. You know, I think it's going to take a few more years to see how this settles, see how this plays out, see how the NIL thing really impacts programs and how much they can offer year to year before we really make any sort of judgment there.
This is why we bring you on. You offer insight that Jim isn't necessarily able to provide.
What?
Did Jim ask a single question?
I don't know if he did. Did you ask anything?
I did.
Yeah, I think he just paid a bill.
Well, here's the thing. When
he
John
was at Wells Fargo or something.
when John goes on his San Diego State transfer portal NIL.
You mean when I ask a question about San Diego State?
No. Here's the thing. You have such detailed questions that I just can't provide.
I said the question was, what do you think about Aztec players being in the portal? I wasn't asking about, like, yeah, you get it, Darnay.
Well, thanks for joining, Darnay. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah. I think John was trying to prove how close of friends we are by making this just a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, he butted me out of that conversation. It was
Dude,
not very nice.
Don't even get me started. Darnay, thank you. We'll text you again tomorrow. We'll see if you'll come on. Thank you. All right, that's Darnay Tripp, NBC7. Great resource, by the way, for San Diego sports fans. Alan Sliwa on LeBron's future. Could it be over? Even though we just said 5 minutes ago, it's probably not.
Probably not.
He will join us coming up at 5 p.m. We'll get to the wrap coming up at 4:30. We do have a giveaway today as well. We'll tell you about later this hour. What's your takeaway there from Darnay? I don't know if you listened to anything he said, but
I did listen to everything he said, actually.
All right, Padres.
He's much more level-headed than I will ever be in my entire life.
He's definitely level-headed. You're not level-headed with anything.
With everything. I am. I see, I react. I can't just sit and be like, oh, yeah, you know, it'd be better in 4 months. I'm a very impatient person. I want things to happen now. If it's not happening in front of my face now, it's hard for me to just like rationalize it and walk myself through it and how things could be better down the road. What I'm seeing right now is a bunch of crap. And that's what I mean with the Padres. The Aztec stuff, it's what we've been saying, you know, with the transfer portal and the NIL, it's the way college athletics is nowadays. And it is an adapt or die business. We've talked to Dutch. Dutch has been in here and he's told us the exact same thing.
Right.
He's like, it's an adapt or die. You have to go with how college sports and athletics are going nowadays. The one and doners of the past, right? That was a phase of college basketball. Now it's not really a phase of college basketball because you're seeing guys transfer because they can get paid in college. You know, before it was like, I need to get my money. So they go 1 year and they're done. And they go to the NBA. Now you're not seeing, I feel like, as many one and doners in college basketball like we used to see in college basketball, because you can get paid in college basketball. You can get paid millions of dollars in college basketball if you go to the right program.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I thought Darnay made the really good point, which is like, before we say what's going to happen because of NIL,
let's see what happens.
Before we say it, let's see it. Now, again, it's still maybe in its infancy. We'll see what the future looks like. It's been around for multiple years, and those multiple years happen to coincide with some of the best years in the history of San Diego State's men's basketball program. So before we all say This will lead to the demise of San Diego State athletics, and here's why. Let's actually see what occurs. But because what has occurred has been a lot of positives, truthfully, and we'll see if that continues down the road or not. All right, on the other side, we will get to the wrap. Alan Sliwa, Lakers Talk, ESPN LA. He will join us at 5 p.m. What do you have?
Can I just read this text here because I think it's always funny to
Yes.
see these types of texts.
Yes.
858 number, I think it was like a 345-ish.
Okay.
Said, are you sure you're both not desperately defending SDSU because you are the flagship station?
I didn't even see this. Who replied to that?
I did.
Oh, when?
I said, what are we defending?
Yeah, what's the defense?
What
Did he
are
text
we
other?
saying?
I think sometimes people confuse defending with discussing.
Do you want us to scold San Diego State for not having enough money in the NIL? Is that our? Do you want us to be like, oh, the Mesa Foundation is not doing enough? Well, what do you want us to say? Because we're having a discussion here, and we can say those things, but it's also probably not true. The climate is what it is. And you always want more help. John has said multiple times, hey, look, if you complain about players entering the transfer portal, guess what? You can do something about it. That's the thing.
I'm not telling you to do it. I'm saying
now.
you can do something about it. It's not my choice.
Yeah.
This is the game that's being played. Do you want to play it or not? This is where the game is heading. Do you want to play it or not? It goes back to, I don't know, keeping up with the Joneses takes money. I mean, how have the Padres put themselves in a position where they were viable with money, right? That's where college athletics are as well. I mean, listen, I'm looking at there's trolls. I mean, I'm looking at the previous text he sent, so that's fine. It's fine. It's funny too because if we talk San Diego State, I think that's what people are getting conflated.
We have a giant SD San Diego State logo behind us.
And we're the flagship home. And I'm going to talk San Diego State football and basketball until I'm blue in the face. I mean,
you're Mr. Announcer now.
If that's an issue, then that's fine. But I mean, talking San Diego State is kind of part of the gig.
Yeah.
And honestly, one of the most enjoyable parts of the gig for me. On the other side, we'll get to the wrap. That's next. All right, so imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt-free with no credit cards, no car loan, no personal loans. Hey, guys, it's Schaefer. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make it happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash almost instantly. With Loan Pronto's AI-based system, you can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home, and you can use that money to pay off all your other loans. In fact, the average homeowner is saving over $850 a month doing this. That's crazy money. Your home value is way up. You can use that to wipe out all those credit cards. Get some money for home improvement, maybe. Literally hundreds of thousands. That's your fingertips, and approval is just minutes away. Call now. Here's the number, 619-207-4336, 619-207-4336, or loanpronto.com. Again, 619-207-4336, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, equal housing lender.
This update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres game 2 of their 3-game series tonight at Petco Park. Yu Darvish back from the IL. Tom Cosgrove being set down at AAA. They'll face old friend Nick Martinez tonight, 6:40 first pitch. And Lakers, they were eliminated last night by the Denver Nuggets. LeBron James, after the game, when asked about his future, said, "I don't want to answer that question right now. Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward, like banners, flyers, signs, and catalogs, some even on the same day. And now at Staples, save $50 on your print purchase of $150 or more. Offer ends 6/1. Visit staples.com/print for details. Staples, your local print and marketing expert."
All right, Alan Slate will Lakers talk will join us coming up at 5 p.m. It's Jon and Jim. We're with you until 6:30 tonight. Not 6:30. What time's the show going till? 6. Okay. 7:60 is chances for you to win bonus bucks. Up $1,000 every day this week. Listen for the keyword and enter it at sportssd.com. Brent, let's get to it.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
This is a little downer-ish. Will the Padres win another game this season?
Ooh. This year?
The Padres ever win a game ever again in existence?
Ever in existence.
Well, show me what's the schedule?
They play
most of the teams again, right?
Yeah, they have 130-ish games left, I think.
They're 14 and 18. They have 130 games left. Yeah, I think they will. When you look at that, I think they will. Absolutely. I could see them winning multiple games from here on out.
Another game this season?
Will they win a game tonight or tomorrow?
I honestly think, and I might be proven to be a giant idiot after tonight, I think they're going to play really well tonight. I think they're going to light up Nick Martinez. I think that Yu Darvish is going to pitch well for the Padres tonight. Yeah. And I think that you're going to get like a 6-2, 7-1 win.
A 6-2 or 7-1 win? I'll buy what you're selling, which is they've lost 5 straight, and at some point they're going to win a game.
At some point, something
maybe
has to
tonight's the night.
Change,
but
I think.
Darvish, I wonder what his workload will be tonight. Nick Martinez has not been good, but it is his former team, which is scary. I'll buy what you're selling. I'll buy a Padres win, not just this season, but tonight.
If they get shut down by Nick Martinez tonight,
right?
If they lose like 4-0 or 4-1,
yeah, right. Yeah, I know. I agree. Next question.
Would LeBron prefer to play with his son or leave and try and win another championship?
I think LeBron would much rather prefer to play with his son. He also mentioned in his press conference last night that everything for him now is about family. And he even mentioned Bronny's decision to potentially turn pro or return to college, which I don't want that kid to just go turn pro just to try to play with his dad, because he's going to fail. Like, it's not going to be pretty, and that's going to suck for him.
Hey, he's got eligibility left. LeBron's going to Duquesne.
Right. I mean, what kind of story?
Go to Duke.
What kind of story is this? In the minutes that follow Game 5, the Lakers are open to drafting Bronny James this June to help fulfill LeBron James' dream of playing with his son.
Darren, I didn't hear who it was, but Darren had an NBA guy on this afternoon, and he said that there's ways other than wasting draft capital that they can get him.
I mean, Bronny may be a future professional, future NBA player, but future doesn't have to mean right now. That's definitely forcing the issue on something. Cardiac arrest to then averaging a few points per game, playing a few minutes per game as a freshman SC doesn't scream, let me go increase my workload in the NBA with the Lakers.
Like, I honestly, I know his dream is to be drafted. I know LeBron's dream as a father is to see his son be drafted to the NBA. But don't try to just force something that's not there, because everybody will criticize him to the nth degree if he declares for the NBA draft and he gets drafted in the first round over players like Jane Ledee. Think about it. You know what I mean?
Jane Ledee, right. Great point. 5-year college career, All-American, 20-10 guy. But
LeBron's
Bronny
kid.
James, I mean, it doesn't even make
I know
any
if
sense.
I can take a lot of criticism, and a lot of people on social media call me an idiot. But for that level for Bronny to be the son of one of the best basketball players in the NBA in history, and you're just going to go to the NBA just to, I mean, just do the right thing, man. Go back to college, go to Duquesne, go somewhere, get your game better, and then maybe in a year or 2 years
you get drafted. As in, he's not even going to be
because
in
some
the
team,
combine.
because Shams or Woj will, suck up to LeBron and send out a report that whoever drafts LeBron, they have a good chance of signing, or whoever drafts Bronny has a good chance of signing LeBron.
There's a list of like 200 guys eligible. He's one of them. He put his name in for
no, not yet. They're deciding that. That's what LeBron said.
I think he's in there, but it's one of those. He's in there, but he can still return.
He hasn't declared if he is declaring for the NBA or not. He's only declared to go in the transfer portal. That's what he is right now.
Okay. Next question.
Is Mike Trout the best baseball player ever to not win a World Series? No,
he's not.
I would tell you Shohei Ohtani's better.
Have you heard of a guy named Barry Bonds?
Ever heard of a guy named Ernie Banks?
Have you heard of a guy named Ken Griffey Jr.?
Have you ever heard of a guy named Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah, and 3 of those players I named are better than Shohei.
Arguable.
Or 2 of them, I guess.
Arguable.
Yeah.
Very arguable.
Better than Bonds?
Well, Bonds, very complicated legacy.
Better than Griffey?
I didn't say that, but I said better than some of those players. And by the end, he absolutely could be better than Ken Griffey Jr. Absolutely. You're talking about a 1 of 1. You would agree with that.
What if he never pitches again, though?
But he is going to pitch again.
But what if he doesn't? It all depends.
What if, we get run over by a small van?
Yeah. Well, as of right now.
Remember when John said he was the most overrated player in Japan?
I did say that.
You did say that, John. But now you're saying he's better than Griffey and Bonds.
I mean, the Bonds thing, let's be fair. I mean, Bonds also cheated.
He juiced.
Yeah. You think? That's part of it. That's part of the story.
But he is still one of the greatest baseball players ever.
And so is Ohtani, right? And
As
so is
right
Trout.
now,
Trout's numbers are pretty good.
Yeah, but no, there was other players that are better than Trout to not have won a World Series.
Next question.
Will Xander Bogaerts ever be an all-star with the Padres?
I'm going to say no.
I'll say no, yeah.
I don't think he will. I think that the decline is real. You might get maybe 1 or 2 good seasons from him, but I just don't see like an all-star season from Xander as he gets older here. I just don't see it. He doesn't look right. He doesn't look like a guy that can give you 30 home runs in a season. And I'm afraid that this, I said Eric Hosmer's contract was the worst contract in Padres history.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid that in Padres history.
I mean, it's absolutely years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, interestingly, if you just looked at like the advanced numbers, his year last year, Jim, and I get it. Nobody wants to hear it. Jim doesn't want to hear it. His year last year wasn't an Eric Hosmer year. It was much better than an Eric Hosmer year, right? Do you agree with that? That Bogaerts has never been like, I don't think Bogaerts is trending to have Eric Hosmer's career here. I think he's trending to have a better career than Eric Hosmer, whatever that's worth. Like, I think he's way more impactful of a player than Eric Hosmer, but he's got to be, unfortunately, like 10 times the player Eric Hosmer was as a Padre. He's only right now like 1.5 times the player that Eric Hosmer was. Does that make sense?
Sure.
That comparing Bogaerts to Hosmer to me is going too far at this point.
Yeah.
Because if you look at some of the actual numbers from a year ago and like his WAR, and honestly, what he hit 285 last year. Yeah. Okay. Wasn't impactful. Team wasn't impactful, but he wasn't some completely inconsequential, no value player. And I hate to put that on Eric Hosmer, but there were times when he was that player as a Padre.
Yeah. But is anybody sitting around saying, man, if Bogey just played like he did last year?
Right. No one's saying that.
No, because everyone thought that last year's Bogey performance wasn't good, including myself.
I honestly may have to take a break from the text line.
Yeah, just don't.
The text line is more of like what's the right word?
Toxic.
It's more toxic than social media.
Don't do
There's
it.
days that I'm considering
trolls.
blocking everyone number, but that's not even that fun either.
Here's the thing.
I think I'm just never going to open it.
To the text line, thank you for listening. We appreciate you. We appreciate the interaction. But don't. They're like, it's just a couple. It's
like I know it's
like
the same
50
people
trolls. Just don't worry about it.
I know replying is so fun though.
It is. See,
Isn't it fun?
you always get mad at me if I
And
reply
you
on
always
Twitter.
reply.
And I always reply.
I
Be
know.
reply on
It's
text
just too
line.
easy to reply, but it's the same people saying the same thing. So I'm just done replying.
They're trolls. It's fine.
All right. On the other side, we're getting you ready for game 2, Padres and Reds. It's not going to happen tonight against Nick Martinez, will it? Plus, Alan Sleewa, Lakers talking LeBron's future and legacy. Coming up at 5 p.m. Stay with us. All right, Alan Sleewa, host of Lakers Talk, will join us coming up at 5 p.m. Plus, it can't happen tonight against Nick Martinez, right? That's next. p.m. Lakers talk. Lakers season is over. Is LeBron's time in a Lakers uniform over? Could he be joined by Bronny? Is that a
So,
realistic question?
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What were you reading me during the break as I was trying to do something? I can't do two things at once.
You truly can't. You can't even do one thing. Have you mentioned during your updates that Tom Cosgrove has been optioned to AAA?
Yes,
Because I don't listen to your updates.
that's correct.
And I'm just matter of fact about it.
I know you are. You're like, huh?
If I do listen, I typically then correct you on something. So I figure just don't even listen.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But yes, I have mentioned that Tom Cosgrove has been optioned because Yu Darvish is making his return tonight from the IL.
Well, here's the quote from Mike Schilt
Ooh,
about
Schilty.
Cosgrove, okay, who was a very important piece of their bullpen a year ago. He's been awful this year. The quote is, Tommy's a big league pitcher that's now going to get a little bit of a reset in AAA. Expect to see him back sooner rather than later. He's a big part of our group and success, one of our most reliable relievers last year, and just hadn't been able to get any consistency or as much consistency as he or we could like. Tommy's a big league pitcher, though, he said.
Respectfully, Tom Cosgrove. I don't care about Tom Cosgrove. I don't.
Okay.
He means so little to the success of this team.
Tom Cosgrove?
Yes. Sorry, Tom.
Tom Cosgrove means little to the success of this team?
If Tom Cosgrove's not here on this team,
I thought you
anybody going to say, man, this team needs Tom Cosgrove?
You said the big four, Manny, Bogey, Toddy, and Tommy.
Yeah.
Am I missing something?
God.
So you're not concerned?
I don't care.
Shut up, nerd!
You're not worried about Cosgrove?
I don't care about Tom Cosgrove. I'm sorry, Tom. I just don't care. Like, cool. You're in the minors. Literally,
if we see you again, we see you again.
But
can I ask a question
the blip
real quick?
on the radar for Tom Cosgrove for me is zero.
Can I ask a question? It's a serious
That's nothing against Tom Cosgrove. It's
sure
just,
it is.
It's just like, it's the reality of the situation.
Like
It's a reality of the situation. We're talking about Tom Cosgrove here.
Right.
When we're talking about Tom Cosgrove.
No, we're not. I was asking if it's in your damn updates, and it has been.
But the way that Mike Schultz talking about it's like, man, we need Tommy on this team to compete.
Can I ask a question?
Who cares about Tom Cosgrove? Seriously, is anybody not going to ballpark because Tom Cosgrove got optioned today? No one's sitting at home like, dude, I can't go to Petco anymore.
I can't support this team
anymore because they optioned Tom freaking Cosgrove.
I'm not going to go get my Tatis bobblehead.
Who cares?
Okay, hear me out. Nice one.
Unleash the fury!
Hear me out. I know Tom Cosgrove happens to be a left-handed pitcher, and I know that Stephen Kolek happens to be a right-handed pitcher. I don't even know what Kolek's numbers are. I'll look them up. He's been fine, right?
My head hurts.
1.5 whip, but his ERA is good enough. But let me ask you this: does Stephen Kolek have to stick around? Oh, yeah. I don't even know what I'm talking
about. Are we talking about Stephen freaking Kolek?
I was going to try to make my way through caring. I don't care. I don't care if it's Kolek. I don't care
if you care about Tom Cosgrove and Stephen Kolek, you're a better person than me.
I don't care.
No one cares about Stephen Kolek. Doesn't even care about Stephen Kolek. The only person that cares about Stephen Kolek are his parents and his wife or girlfriend. Same thing with Tom Cosgrove. If we're in the dugout asking questions about Tom Cosgrove and Stephen Kolek and their usage and what they need to do to improve,
he's a big part of the team. Oh my gosh. How did we get it? This is what happens when you lose 5 straight games. 4 of them at home. Blow a 5-run 8th inning lead to the Rockies. Face Nick Martinez tonight, who's been awful. If I see Nick Martinez go 7 innings, allowing just 1 run,
I'm over. I'm done.
Then Jim will. You thought Jim last night on the wrap-up show was like an 8 out of 10. He will be an 11. You were just right there at 10.
I was a 10 there. That was a
You're
10.
You're going to be 11 tonight if they get shut out by.
I just went to a 10 there because we're sitting here talking about Tom freaking Cosgrove. Again, no offense to Tom, but we're talking about Tom Cosgrove.
Imagine you're Tom Cosgrove and you're on the way to the airport.
They've lost 5 in a row.
The Uber guys listening to the San Diego Sports 760 were just annihilating.
They've lost 5 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Their superstars all suck. Yu Darvish Joe Musgrove have underperformed. Xander Bogaerts looks like a AAA player at best.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about Tom Cosgrove.
What about Wusutko?
I literally forgot about Wusutko. Until you mentioned Wusutko, I haven't even thought about Wusutko.
Okay.
You know, and I get it. We have to ask questions in the dugout about things because we can't continuously ask.
You were putting in your update, so I thought maybe you'd want to hear from Schulte, who said he's a big part of the team. In the pregame media scrum, what else do you want them to ask? To your point, there's nothing else to talk about. When a player gets an option, you're going to ask the manager about it.
Because usually you don't hear the people that like. Do you hear Dennis asking about Tom Cosgrove and the pregame
I have no.
scrunch?
Who asked the question? I have no idea.
It probably was.
I
Probably
feel
was
like
Dennis.
this is Jim's. We're talking about practice.
I know.
We're talking about Tom Cosgrove.
No, they've lost five in a row.
The game, not losing 5 in a row, but Tom Cosgrove.
Right. The players making $1 billion all collectively suck. And we're talking about Tom Cosgrove and how he's a big part of this team and he needs to go down to AAA to become better. Like, give me a freaking break. Give me a break.
I can't deal with this. How are we supposed to do this for 5 more months?
Murray on the chat says, Jim, Darvish hasn't underperformed. He's got hurt. Same thing. When you're making a bunch of money and you get hurt, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's not Maria, it's Murray.
Oh, I thought you said Maria. You can yell at Murray. Just kidding. Murray's a loyal viewer.
Again, like if we're sitting here talking about a Tom Cosgrove or Steven Kolick or Eggy Rosario or Jose Zokar or Kyle Higashioka.
Yeah, but before
Grant Pauly.
Before Manny Machado was Manny Machado, he was Grant Pauly. Again, maybe
15 years ago.
Before Trevor Hoffman was Trevor Hoffman, he was Steven Kolick. You know what I mean? Like everyone starts somewhere. I mean, they actually will need contributions from this group. Manny's not pitching the 8th. He's not going 4 for 4 every night. They're not combining to hit 3 home runs. They're going to need some of this group. Tom Cosgrove. All right. Alan Slewa, the host of Lakers Talk, who is a lifelong Padres fan, a native San Diego State grad. LeBron's future, Bronny's future, Tom Cosgrove's future with Alan Slewa next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres Reds game 2 of their 3-game series tonight at Petco Park. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. Tom Cosgrove has been optioned to AAA El Paso to make room for Yu Darvish to make the start tonight. Nick Martinez, he is also starting for the Reds. 6:40 first pitch. And last night, the Lakers, they lost to the Denver Nuggets in game 5 of their first round matchup, eliminating the Lakers once again. LeBron James, after the game, when asked about his future and if he believes that he'll be on the Lakers next season, he declined to answer the question. Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward, like banners, flyers, signs, and catalogs, some even on the same day. And now at Staples, save $50 on your print purchases of $150 or more. Offer ends 6/1. Visit staples.com/print for details. Staples, your local print and marketing expert.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. This is a big hour. Alan Sliwa, ESPN LA, Lakers Talk, joining us right now. Coming up in 30 minutes, just confirmed, Nick Boyd, San Diego State transfer guard from FAU. Remember, he took on the Aztecs 2 years ago in the Final Four, was guarding Lamont Butler when he hit the shot at the buzzer. Nick Boyd, the newest Aztec, will join us coming up at 5:30. Alan, we appreciate it. First of all, Alan's an Aztec for life. He is a Padres fan. And, of course, he covers the Lakers as well. So there's a lot to get into, and Al, we always appreciate it. I actually want to start with the Padres. We'll get to LeBron. I know you've been discussing it, I'm sure, ad nauseum over the last 24 hours. What is your reaction to seeing this play out again with the Padres, where it feels like same old story? I know it's early, but they're 14-18 overall.
Very disappointing. I think it's funny. Jim, I think we talked, was it like maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, very recent.
I want to say it might have just been, I'm thinking off the top of my head, we might have just finished the Brewers series.
Yeah, I think so.
Getting ready to start that series against the Blue. I think it was Toronto. They were getting ready to start a series against the Blue Jays.
Yep.
So I thought there were some things that were optimistic. I thought, you got some reason to believe. Hang around 500, and over time, I think if you're hovering around that mark, let's see what happens. You get a little bit closer to the trade deadline. I'm not saying you're going to go win the NL West doing that, but just kind of stay in the hunt. And I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but that Rockies loss up 9-5 or 9-4 going into the 8th. I don't know why that one, especially you knew you had Philly coming into town, and that one just I think was just such a bad loss for so many different reasons, and the Padres haven't won since then. So it's been tough to swallow. And I heard you guys. I was listening to the promo here coming in. I agree with you on the Red series and the already start. Yesterday, kind of, we know when the Padres don't score runs, they don't win, and that just nothing changed yesterday, losing 5-2. So I'm worried about the team. I'm worried because you got. I'm sure a lot of Padre fans and San Diegans that just want to stay in the mix here. Just try to stay in the mix. Well, you're 4 games below 500 now. You've gone on is it 4 or 5 in a row? I think 5 in a row now that you've lost. You got to stop the bleeding. And that's the one thing in baseball. You start getting 8, 9, 10 games below 500. That's tough to recover from. And I'm worried about that.
And from a fan's perspective, all the stars are underperforming. Who concerns you the most here?
Xander for me is the guy. And I get it. There's a long laundry list, and of some of the players that are not performing. But Bogaerts, I really thought after last season, and okay, you're starting your second year with the Padres. I get the contract is the contract, but we're so early in the contract. I was just waiting for him to have a rebound year, waiting for him to start feeling good, getting comfortable with the city of San Diego, making himself feel a little bit more at home. That I'm worried about. Now, like you said, there's a few players that you can be concerned about, but for me, Xander's the one I always look at because it was last year he obviously underperformed, and then watching him already this year, that's a concern for 11-year reasons of why that's a concern, but definitely a concern.
Alan Flewa, ESPN LA, with us on Jon and Jim. I promise we'll talk about the Lakers, but we have Alan, who is an Aztec for life.
Yes.
Alan, how do you see what's playing out right now in the college landscape? This is obviously something not just impacting San Diego State. It's like a new normal, whether it's college football or college basketball. That's where we see it most. Those, revenue generating sports. But, you graduated from San Diego State. You were at the Final Four, weren't you?
Yeah.
You were at the Final. I mean, so you're passionate about your programs, and you see how this is changing right in front of our eyes. What do you think it's going to mean for San Diego State?
Okay, so I think for the first time, it really hit me, and I'm drawing a blank, and I'll have to, you guys will have to help me with the name here. I was listening to you guys probably a couple weeks ago or so, and I'm trying to think here, the head of the Mesa Foundation.
Yeah, Jeff Smith.
Okay, that's exactly who it was. And Jeff was on with you guys. It was the first time it kind of hit me where, I don't want to say he was playing, but there was a little bit of like, SD, we need some help here. If you want this program to remain the program that you're accustomed to, I even think back, I'll go back to, what was it, 2010, 11. I might be off on the date, but the two Sweet 16s in Anaheim, I was there for both of them. And that kind of, it didn't start there, but you just kind of are like, yeah, that's what San Diego State is. They're a top 25 program. This is what they do. And I thought Jeff talking about how critical of a time it was, how the landscape is changing, how if you make any kind of donation, $20 a month, whatever it was, to the Mesa Foundation, then, that can have a real effect. So to answer your question, state athletics, I really, really don't. I don't know. And, my hope is that the city understands how important it is to have SDSU as a top 25 program. And I think everybody understands that, but the landscape has changed, and it is financial. I saw something, this was probably a couple of weeks ago I saw this. I think Memphis, they got FedEx, which is based out of Memphis. There was like a $25 million sponsorship / partnership. That part of it was going to NIL, things along those lines. It's got to be a combination of everybody, and I'm sure there's a lot of local businesses that can thrive off of partnerships with San Diego State University. But what it's going to look like in the next 5 years, 10 years, I have no idea. If you'd have told me 5 years ago, I'd have thought San Diego State was going to be in the Pac-12 at some point. Obviously, that no longer exists. I have no idea the effects that it has. I just know how critical it is to the success of the program.
Moving to the Lakers here, Alan, this is going to be an absolutely loaded question, but, where do they go from here?
Well, I think, fair or not, which I think it's actually fair, they're going to have a new head coach. I think everybody has all but reported that highly unlikely Darvin Ham comes back. What they're going to do in the offseason, I think there was telling. I remember being right after the trade deadline, Lakers had a game. I think the trade deadline was at noon. It was on a Thursday. Lakers had a game that Thursday night, and it was at Crypto. And Rob Pelinka answered questions from the media, and, he justified, look, here's why we're not making a trade. We're not making a trade because I have a lot more assets that I can work with in the offseason. And I could, basically what he's saying, I could go big game hunting in the offseason. I can't really do that right now. I think the way he described it is you can't buy a home that's not for sale. So I'm going to take him for his word. They'll have 3 first rounders. They'll have some other assets that are on the team, and I think the Lakers are going to go big game hunting. Whether that's the right thing to do or it's not the right thing to do, LeBron has an incredible amount of power on the franchise. There's a reason why he has that player option, and this is something that he's done pretty much for the most part in his career and a couple different stops that he was at. He's going to get what he wants. What he wants is a team that's competitive. He wants a team that's got a chance at winning an NBA championship, and he doesn't care about your draft pick. So I think in a nutshell, that gives you a little bit of an idea. Changes are coming. The changes, I don't think LeBron, I don't think Anthony Davis is going to be other things that are changed.
Can I ask that? It's more of a hypothetical, theoretical. Alan Slewa, ESPN LA, with us right now on Jon and Jim. If I just told you he had two options, LeBron speaking, he could play with his son, but there's no assurance of them winning, right? Maybe he plays with his son in LA, but there's no assurance of anything better than what's happening right now. Maybe he gets to the postseason, maybe it's a first-round exit. Or you go elsewhere and you win. He gets another title, or maybe he plays for another title. What do you think he would go for in that scenario?
I like the way you frame that. I think he would. That's interesting. That's interesting. You know, I think he's downplaying it now about he's got to play with his son, but
Right.
I think he's only downplaying it because I think a lot of teams realize, hey, should we use our second rounder on Bronny? And if we get Bronny, can we potentially get LeBron to come play here? I guess if I took him for his word, I would say that playing with Bronny would be more important. Now, what he's going to try to do is, you guys saw some of those reports that already literally the game ended and there were 13 reports yesterday of as predetermined as can possibly be. In a perfect world, everybody stays in LA and Bronny's in LA as well. I think that's how LeBron sees it. But I think I would lean a little bit more towards him playing with his son. And I know that sounds a little weird, but if he goes and chases a championship and he's in a market that he doesn't want to be in, I don't know if I see that happening. I still think he's going to stay in LA.
When you look at the supporting cast here for the Lakers, what's the sentiment on the blame for them? I mean, LeBron and AD did a lot here, but D'Angelo Russell in the first round versus the Nuggets was very up and down. There was a video of him kind of not in the huddle. Not a great look for him during one of those games, but the supporting cast, Reeves, Russell, Hachimura. I mean, is this like a complete, like, besides AD and LeBron, like everything should be up for question?
I think everything will be up for question, period. But, you know, if D'Angelo Russell is your third best player, that's such a wild swing of what you're going to get every night, right? He's going to give you 7 threes in a game. He's going to literally have 0 points the following game.
Yeah.
So that is that's just such a crazy swing. And all they really needed from him was, can you just be consistent? I'm a fan of Austin Reeves. I like Austin Reeves, but if they are going to go big game hunting, a team is going to be asking for 3 first-rounders. They're going to be asking for Austin Reeves. I think he's going to be attractive towards somebody else. Rui was incredibly disappointing. I remember when he signed his contract. He signed 3 years, $54 million. I think it was $17 million a year. And I remember Brian Windhorst coming on my radio show, and one of the first things he said, he's like, look, they paid him for what he did. They didn't pay him for what he's done his entire career. What he did in these playoffs, that's, even though I think it was actually below what I was expecting from him to do, but yeah, that's Rui too. So you got a lot of role players that I don't think you can really depend on. And you could say, well, Vando was out for a lot of time and Gabe Vincent was out, which you're not wrong. But I think the main thing to pay attention to is AD played 75 plus games. LeBron played 70 plus games. Austin Reeves didn't miss a game. D'Lo played 70 plus games. Their 4 main players were there. They were still a number 7 seed. And here's the thing. I don't think the Lakers are a bad team. I really don't. I think I mean, every game against Denver was very competitive, but I don't think you're walking in next year saying, hey, all we got to do is just let this marinate, and now we're going to go win a championship. The West is only getting better. The West has got a lot of young teams that are up and coming or already surpassed where the Lakers are just from a standings perspective. So that's got to be concerning for the team as well.
Alan, last one from me before you go is your prediction on how this postseason plays out now. Who do you see as the team that's the last one standing?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, if I'm kind of stuck here, and this is I just watched the Denver Nuggets, and as much as Nikola Jokic is good and as great as Jamal Murray is, and he shows it all the time, they don't have any help off the bench. They basically got 5 starters who are all fantastic, probably the best 5 in the NBA. They don't have any depth, no depth at all. I think they're in serious risk this next round against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I really, really like Minnesota. Goes 8-9 deep. They got a perfect balance of size, wings, a killer in Anthony Edwards, veterans in Mike Conley. Boston, I just saw that Kristaps Porzingis is going to miss at least a few games. Injuries are certainly going to come into play. If you told me to pick one right now, maybe I'm a little crazy. I'll roll the dice, and I'll tell you that Minnesota is the last one standing.
Wow. Minnesota.
Hey, man, they looked good versus the Phoenix Suns.
I look like an idiot in 2 weeks, by the way. I could look like a complete idiot, but we'll take listen, I know the pick should be Denver, but I wasn't that impressed with Denver against the Lakers, and maybe they just didn't play all that good of a series, or maybe the matchup isn't great. But I think Minnesota and Denver is going to be a really, really good series.
Minnesota has played in a NBA Finals ever, have they?
I don't think they ever have.
I don't think they have.
No, the closest was the Western Conference Finals with KG.
Let's go back a year ago. The Nuggets never got to an NBA
That's
Finals.
A good point.
They won their first championship.
That's a great point. It is. Alan, we appreciate it, man. We really do. There's so much going on. There is so much going on. Obviously, LeBron's future is a sizable story, obviously, in Southern California, but with NIL, with the Padres, we appreciate you doing it. We'll connect with you again later on this spring, but thanks for hopping on, man. Always good to connect.
Yeah. More importantly than LeBron right now, Padres, get a freaking win. Can we just get a W?
Much bigger national story. That's what we're saying. Yes.
Much bigger story. Tom Cosgrove being optioned or LeBron James's future.
Exactly.
I agree.
Thanks,
right,
Alan.
Sounds good.
Appreciate you. We should have asked about Stephen Kolek.
My whole rant about Tom Cosgrove.
I should have asked about Bronny. Seriously, what's Bronny gonna do?
I don't think he
What
knows.
do you think Bronny's gonna forget about what LeBron's gonna do? He's gonna be back with the Lakers. Do you think Bronny's at like Duquesne next year? Do you think Bronny is in college basketball next year?
I think
G League or
yes.
You think college basketball?
Yes.
See, that's to me actually a debatable question. LeBron will be back with the Lakers.
Yeah. I think LeBron will go to Bronny and be like, look, I got 2 more years. Next year,
right. So you figure it out for 1 more year.
Next year, you get yourself right.
Yeah.
And we're going to work hard and you're going to develop.
Yeah, and then you can do it.
After that, final year, me and you.
I guess the question that's in my head is who's it more important to, that Bronny gets to play with his dad or that LeBron gets to play with his son?
LeBron. 100% LeBron, dude.
Because
that's what I mean,
where
if it comes down to, if Bronny obviously has to know that he's not ready. You know, he wasn't even ready for USC. You think he's going to be ready to go and play in the NBA?
It's not a knock on Bronny.
Well, I'm not ripping on him. I'm just saying, if I'm him, I'm going to be like, look, Dad, I get it. You want to play with me, but I'm not ready. And, you shouldn't put pressure on me to come out just because, you want me to ride the end of the bench for a season on whatever team you're on.
Yeah, honestly, as a true freshman, guys, just hear me out for 1 second. He was good, but there's a caveat. A true freshman, he's now 19. He shot 36% from the floor. He shot 26% from 3. He played 19 minutes a game. He only played 25 games. He barely touched the floor. That's not his fault. Yeah. He had the health issue with the cardiac arrest, and then he played 19 minutes a game, and he shot 36% from the floor, and he averaged 4.8 points per game. Jim, to your point, he could probably take a big-time leap.
Yeah.
Back from the cardiac circumstance, playing 30 minutes a game, scoring 15 points. He'd go from 5 to 15. Absolutely possible. And at that point, you can have real conversations about it.
Yep.
But now it's such an extreme reach.
It is, because there's like very little tape on Bronny. Really? I mean, very little.
100 minutes.
And the limited minutes that he did play, I mean, he had some nice moments. But I think the one thing that also kind of hurts him is he's not really like that prototypical like big player.
Oh, that's interesting too. Yeah.
He's 6'3". tops.
They list him. I'm at ESPN.com 6'4", 210. But where does that scream? That doesn't even. What does that
I
scream?
mean, Steph's 6'3",
Yeah,
almost 6'4".
right.
You know, is he going to be a point guard in the NBA? Is he going to be a shooting guard? Like,
I would guess shooting guard, but that's a good point.
Like, he does have some pretty good like athletic ability, obviously,
yeah,
because he's LeBron's
there were some good
son.
highlights last year.
He's got some skill.
Yep.
But I don't know, man.
Again, and this isn't a knock on him. I think he's got a chance to be a very good player. If he wasn't LeBron James' son, no one would ever have this conversation in a million years.
No,
they say, you know what? This is a true freshman that put together a fine year for a true freshman, has a chance to be a pretty impact player as a sophomore in college.
You don't remember when all the scouts were begging Jeffrey Jordan to come out of Illinois early with his 3 points a game to play with his dad with the Wizards?
Exactly. All right, so we've confirmed
that happened.
Nick Boyd, the newest Aztec, coming to the Mesa later this summer or spring, presumably, is going to join us coming up at 5:30. What do you have for Nick?
A lot for Nick.
You have a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Nick Boyd, FAU. I mean, what are the odds paths cross like that? Yeah. San Diego State, FAU, same floor in Houston, to Boyd now joining San Diego State 1 year later.
It's like they flipped Lamont out, Nick Boyd in.
And who did we have on? Miles Bird.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Bird told us a week ago, and it was last week, not this week, right?
Last week, yeah.
That he, Nick Boyd, and Lamont Butler went to an escape room together in San Diego.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Like 2 weeks ago, probably, when Boyd was on his visit. Then he committed. Then Lamont Butler entered the portal 36 hours later on his way to university. Things happen quick, is my point.
And also, too, for anybody out there still upset that Lamont left, I bet you, and he might have inadvertently done it. Maybe he didn't do it on purpose, but I bet you Lamont had a little say in Nick Boyd coming here at San Diego State. Like, he may have helped a little bit by talking about how the program is.
We should ask.
Hey, Lamont,
does he get an assist?
Lamont get an assist for you coming here to San Diego State?
Nick Boyd, San Diego State addition in the transfer portal, will join us on the other side. We still have Jim's backstage as well. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, the newest Aztec, Nick Boyd, an FAU transfer. He played San Diego State a year ago in the Final Four. He'll join us next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. Padres Reds, game 2 of their 3-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish is returning to the mound coming off of the IL. Tom Cosgrove, John, he has been optioned to AAA El Paso. An old friend, Nick Martinez, will start tonight for the Reds against the Pods. And last night, the Lakers lost to the Denver Nuggets in game 5 of their series, eliminating the Lakers once again. LeBron James, after the game, when asked about his future, said he did not want to comment on that right now. Staples can print anything you need to move your businesses forward, like banners, flyers, signs, and catalogs, some even on the same day. And now at Staples, save $50 on your print purchase of $150 or more. Offer ends 6/1. Visit staples.com/print for details. Staples, your local print and marketing expert.
All right, we have the newest Aztec with us on the home of the Aztec, San Diego Sports 760. Our pleasure to welcome Nick Boyd to Jon and Jim here in San Diego. Nick, officially transferring to San Diego State, will be on the Mesa for the upcoming 2024-25 season after a really successful career to this point at FAU, playing there, of course, played in the Final Four against San Diego State just 2 seasons ago. So, Nick, we really do appreciate it. Can you take us through what this process has been like for you? What's it like from a student-athlete perspective? You enter the transfer portal. What made San Diego State the right fit for you? And thanks for hopping on.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited. It's a pleasure to be on the show, and I'm excited to get out of San Diego very soon. But honestly, just a winning culture. That stood out to me from day one. I actually received a message from Coach Lester via Instagram, just texting me and reaching out and asking me if I was interested. And once I seen the name San Diego State, I said, heck yeah, I'm interested in winning, and that's what I was looking for in my next school.
You know, we all know the story here. You know, playing at FAU, you guys met San Diego State in the Final Four. Just for you, how kind of surreal is it that, you know, one of the biggest games of your career so far, the team that you were playing against, now you're playing for?
Yeah, I mean, definitely an odd situation, but I mean, I guess if you look at it in hindsight, just a perfect situation that God put me in. I mean, I just think playing San Diego State in the Final Four and having them beat us on the tough shot that Lamont Butler hit, it just made me have a deep respect for the program and what they're about. It really opened my eyes to how successful they were over the last, 20 something years. I mean, and now for it to come full circle and me have a chance to be on a bigger stage in FAU and play for a legendary coach, it's a hell of an opportunity.
It's an amazing story. Nick Boyd is with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Nick, something that stuck with me is what you said in the immediate aftermath of losing to San Diego State. It actually reminded me of something that Matt Bradley, a former Aztec that you played, said after losing to UConn. He was just, the way he spoke is as honest, as transparent as he was, really stuck with me. You really had good perspective after the loss. Do you remember some of those moments? I mean, what's that like? A heartbreaking loss like that, and then you have to speak with the media. You really put it in perspective, saying, listen, this was a goal to get to a Final Four. This is an incredible journey, and that's how I'm going to look at it.
I mean, yeah, definitely. That was a dream of mine I had since being a kid. I mean, to go to FAU, I mean, maybe a 2-star out of high school, being overlooked, and then go to FAU, a small school that's never really made any noise, not to mention the NCAA tournament. So to take my team and be a piece to a great team that ends up going to the Final Four and plays a great program like San Diego State, and unfortunately gets knocked off in the last couple seconds. I mean, it put my whole life in perspective, and I was just so grateful to be there in that moment. And instead of crying or being upset about the outcome, I was just more grateful for the group that we had and what we did for the university, for myself, for my family and the school. I was ready to get back.
We talked to one of your teammates, Miles Bird, on last week with us, and he mentioned that you, Lamont, and himself went to a escape room together maybe a couple weeks ago, and now Lamont has since moved on. He has transferred and he's going to Kentucky. But while you guys were out and maybe a part of a recruiting trip or whatever, how much did Lamont maybe have a little bit of an assist talking to him about the program to get you to come here?
I mean, yeah, it was great just to meet everybody in person, to get the overall vibe. I mean, when you come into a new environment, especially on a recruiting visit, sometimes it could be awkward. But I mean, I try my best just to be myself at all times, and then just to go into the escape room with them guys and have some fun. It meant a lot to me. It showed how much of a family the program was, and that stood out to me the most. So I mean, having him on the trip, fortunately he's gone. I would love to play with him. But just having him there and him showing me around, it was great.
Nick Boyd with us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. So what has the coaching staff told you about the role they hope to see you fill, and like how you see yourself growing and how you can help grow San Diego State as a team as well with this upcoming season?
I mean, going into this transfer process, I definitely wanted to find an opportunity for myself to play more point guard. That's something I did a lot in high school. I feel like that's one of my strengths. I'm not really a scorer. I can score the ball well. I mean, I did well in high school scoring the ball, but, just making my teammates better, being a leader inside, not on the court in the locker room. That's what's most important to me. I feel like I'm a connector. And, I mean, now I just feel like it's my time to really take a step up and just being a leader, being a point guard, and, what they can be.
What? Transfer portal is still open. It ends tomorrow, and there will be changes to this team over the next couple of weeks probably. But so far right now, the teammates that you have, what's your thoughts on this team so far heading into the next season?
I mean, I'm really impressed with pretty much everybody on the team. A bunch of younger guys who, like myself, just ready to take that next step and be who they think they can be. So I mean, when you have a team like that, you never know what the accomplishment or what the success could look like. I mean, you go down the list of Miles Bird, Magoon, just younger guys, who had to take a step back and really, watch the game and gain some experience, but now they're ready to take off. And when you have a team like that who's so hungry and ready to prove themselves, you never know what can happen.
Again, we're joined by Nick Boyd right now, newest San Diego State addition for the upcoming men's basketball season. When I hear you talk about your journey and when I read a little bit about your background from high school in New Jersey, I think you had that like prep year as well. Dusty May recruits you to FAU. But like you said maybe a 2-star out of high school. it reminds me of some of the players that have had some of the best success at San Diego State, gym rats, chip on shoulder type players, guys that have been overlooked and then prove people wrong at the highest level. Do I have that right? Am I describing you?
And no doubt, like you said, coming from New Jersey, going to prep school, going to FAU, who was pretty much a nobody, definitely a chip on my shoulder and definitely a different experience this year for everybody on the team and definitely myself. I feel like I lost a little bit of that chip. So that was just another thing I was looking for in this transfer process and the portal process. Just finding the school who's about that, who's about being gritty, who's about being, winners and ultimately, taking food off people's plates.
Playing at Viejas Arena, I don't think you've ever played there before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah. So the show, the environment, the fans. I mean, what have you been told about what to expect here, and how excited are you to get in front of this fan base and get out there at Viejas? I mean, at game days, it's just a different level there at Viejas Arena.
Yeah, no doubt. I've just been told it's been sold out every game. I was told how much the fans love basketball and how much they love their players and how much they love gritty and hard-nosed basketball. And that's what I'm about. That's what I think I'm here for. And yeah, I heard it's electric. I'm ready to win some games and just have fun.
I'm curious, Nick. Final one from me. Which moment in the tournament run was most memorable for you? Because you had the Memphis game winner. Like, there is no Final Four for FAU without your play against Memphis, the first ever FAU tournament win. But then you go home, so to speak, to MSG for a regional. And then you're in Houston in a Final Four, which is just truly incredible. Like, is it among the three stops in the journey, those first and second round games, your play, again, the Sweet 16 MSG, and then you make it to the Final Four? Is there one that stands out in that whole list?
I love all those moments, but the one that stood out to me the most is probably when we went home for the Sweet 16. Well, I went home for the Sweet 16 at MSG. We played Tennessee, and if you would have thought FAU would have knocked Tennessee off that night, you were probably crazy. And I feel like that was the first time the world really understood who FAU was and what we were about. Just how we won that game, how we out rebounded them, and we're just a tougher team. So that's probably my favorite memory from that whole run. But definitely that Tennessee game where we set a lot of people up and started the run. That was magical.
No doubt about it. I said final question. I have one more. Do I have this right? Because I saw it online. Is your uncle Fred Hill the former Rutgers head coach?
Yes, sir. Yeah, my uncle's Fred Hill. Just another another person who really vouched for San Diego as well. Just in this process, someone who just taught me well since I was young. In this transfer process, you can get a lot. You can get money, you can get NIL, but I just really wanted to develop my game and be in a situation where I had a chip on my shoulder and had this opportunity to still achieve my dreams of going to the NBA. So, San Diego stuck out to me from that standpoint, and I feel like that's what makes it different from a lot of places around the country.
Trust us, you're in the right spot. San Diego State, you have picked an absolute gold mine of a location. San Diego State, Viejas Arena, the opportunity to compete in the Mountain West and hopefully win championships and make runs in the NCAA tournament. Nick, we're excited to have you in San Diego. When do you hope to be on campus? Later this spring or summer, or when did you get here?
Definitely in a couple of weeks, probably. Looking forward to get my feet wet, get acclimated, and then get ready for full team workouts in June. So I'll be out there soon.
Congratulations again on all your successes to this point, and we'll catch up with you when you get back to Southern California. And thanks for doing it tonight.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys. I appreciate this opportunity.
We're looking forward to
Thanks,
it as well.
man. Appreciate
Great
it.
stuff. Nick Boyd with us on the home of the Aztec, San Diego Sports 760.
He said something there at the very end, and I think you caught it as well.
Let's discuss it on the other side. Plus Jim's back page next. All right, you're driving home from work. You're hungry. It's been a long day. You got to put food on the table, and you're trying to eat healthy, but you're trying to also have a healthy snack, right? You don't want to be unhealthy. Consider Almond RX packs. It's really a game changer in your day. I'm eating at least 1 pack per day. I'm eliminating the vending machine from my diet, right? You want to eat healthy when you snack. You want to get your daily dose of vitamin D, which is an immunity booster. So everyone wants a healthy snack, but you want it to be both healthy and tasty. You want it to curb hunger. Look no further than Almond RX, the first and only skinless almond fortified with vitamin D. It has your daily serving of 23 almonds, and it was founded by a San Diego sports medicine physician. Almond RX, packed with nutrients. I'm talking about nutrients that support your heart, cellular, and gut health. You can find Almond RX at any Foodland right here in San Diego County. Also at Harvest Ranch in Northern County, up in North County and Encinitas. Also at almondrx.com. Again, ALMONDRX.com. That's almondrx.com. If you go there right now, you're going to get free shipping on all orders of $25 or more. You heard me right. Go there right now. Free shipping on all orders of $25 or more at almondrx.com. It curbs hunger and it's perfect for the on-the-go lifestyle. heard from Nick Boyd was, because I think we heard the same thing.
He mentioned NIL, and for me, hearing somebody say, it's not really about NIL. Yes, it's a factor, but I want to go somewhere where I can improve my game, become better, and go to a really good environment
And win.
People think that every single college athlete is all about NIL. That's not the case. And with the landscape, Dutch has to try to needle his way. I'm sure there will be players that come here that really care a lot about the NIL, but he's going to have to also find those players that the NIL is not the number one thing for them. Well, it is a factor, no doubt about it. And look, I'm sure there were questions from Nick Boyd and his camp about the NIL. There had to have been, but from hearing him say look, the NIL is a thing, but it's not the biggest thing to me. I want to go somewhere again where I can win at environment, coaches, improve my game, and San Diego State is a perfect spot for me.
You know who said something similar a year ago? Reese Waters. Wanted to be in the right fit, wanted to win. And again, there's short-term goals and there's medium-term and there's long-term. You could get $200,000 in NIL, but some of these players have 10, 15-year professional careers, not just in the NBA. There's a lot of money in a professional career for an athlete. So sometimes you got to think about more than just 1 year. What can I make in this 1 year when you're thinking about the next 10 or 15 years?
Right.
Too. By the way, Juan Soto, you just share it with me. 447-foot home run off the warehouse in right field at Camden Yards in Baltimore.
Yeah, he was a problem here, John.
He's a problem right now for the American League East.
Look, here's the thing.
Did he walk it off the building?
That's a great point.
Yeah, it's a good point.
He just walks.
Yeah, he just walks and he doesn't,
Is he walking too much?
Is he walking too much in New York?
Reach base. It's a problem.
It's a big problem. You do not want a guy with a 900 plus OPS on your team.
He's always on base.
You don't want even a guy with 1,000 OPS on your team. That's
Although there
bad.
has already been a ramp. This team's 20-10 in New York 2 weeks ago. Oh, he walked.
He walks too
Guys,
much.
You're 20-10. Relax.
Yeah.
Let's get to it real
He's
quick.
one of the best players in sport. So Oreo cookie comes out with new flavors all the time. Some are good, some are not so good. I'm a original Oreo guy, double stuffed.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I can't.
That's not original.
Well, the original flavor is what I mean.
Okay.
Not the original, just Oreo, just with the singular stuff. I think the thin Oreos. I mean, I don't get it. I like the cream in the middle.
They're for delusional people that are like, hey, I'm on a diet, but it's okay.
It's just a little.
Exactly. They're just thin Oreos.
It's just thin Oreos. It's like
it's like Froyo in the 90s. It's
right.
It's good for us.
It's low fat Oreos.
Froyo.
Anyway, Oreo has released a new cookie flavor, John.
Okay.
The new cookie flavor is Sour Patch Kids.
What kind of Sour Patch Kid?
Oreo has teamed up with Sour Patch Kids to reveal the brand's first ever sour cookie. The new limited edition, the Oreo Sour Patch Kids cookie.
It's kind of genius.
Sour Patch Kids flavoring with cookie and cream with colorful inclusion. So it looks like a funfetti cake.
Yeah, so that's all flavors.
So it's all flavors.
I don't know about that.
Sour Patch Kids flavored cream with multicolor flavored sour sugar inclusion.
This isn't as bad as an idea like when they do the Halloween, when they do the mystery one, when it just tastes gross, but they won't tell you what it tastes like.
Sure.
You're supposed to buy it and just hope it doesn't suck.
Yeah, I don't know about this one, guys. I really don't.
I would try.
It'd be one thing if it was just one flavor of Sour Patch Kids instead
of all of them.
Yeah, we're just gonna dump a bag in a blender and then just throw them in cookies.
Because we've seen the red velvet Oreos before.
Yeah, those are okay.
Those are good. We've seen other tropical flavored Oreos. I think maybe. Again, not my thing, but they love to do new flavors, and I'm sure this will sell a lot.
They do.
I would try one, but I don't know if I would like it or not. Probably not.
Honestly, I could see it being popular. I'm not kidding. I feel like that's kind of a interesting niche.
Dave & Buster's, John, this is a story that came out today. Will soon allow its customers to make wagers on its popular games. People will soon be able to place a $5 wager via Dave & Buster's mobile app on the chain's Hot Shots basketball game and skee ball competition, among other arcade games. The betting function is expected to launch on the app called the D&B Rewards on Apple and Android in the App Store within the next few months. The new partnership gives loyal members real-time, unrivaled gaming experiences and reinforces our commitment to continue to elevate our customer experience through innovative.
Let me get this straight. Jim's playing Brent in skee ball. I'm like, I'll take Brent minus the 1.5 points for $10. I don't
plus
even understand
500.
that.
Yeah. You can basically do like real money contest or challenge for these skee ball and basketball games. Because usually when you play, you just get the tickets. Now you can like bet on money. Like, I bet on this guy's going to win.
They should make you bet for one of the crappy prizes. Like, oh, look, there's a kazoo.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Like, they should just, then if you're going to do that at Dave & Buster's, they should just hand you the 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yes.
Like card.
Yes.
Because you have a problem. All right. We're out of here. We're back tomorrow at 3 p.m. for Brent and Jim. I'm John. Keep it right here to this station. This very station.
Yeah.
Keep it right here.
Bye-bye.